Now it's time to talk about the system. And I have a big smile on my face because I actually love talking about this. In the last 4 years, I have gone from absolutely hating everything about marketing to actually being excited about marketing as a whole and the whole process of figuring out what I'm going to do. I absolutely love feeling like I know what I'm doing. Even if not everything that I try and do works the way it's supposed to, I feel so much more confident and happy with my marketing, with what I'm doing. So let's talk about the system. So I'm going to start by giving you a high level overview, and then I'm going to do a deep dive into each component of the system and give you a picture of how it works and some examples and that kind of stuff. So hopefully you will have more than enough information to be able to go and create your own. I've also created a template, which is linked below, that you can use to sort of walk through the process of creating your own system, your own plan or strategy that hopefully you can use for the long term. You could change and update it, or you can, make a system, decide you hate it, and start from scratch. Template is available. You can download it at any point. So the system I use to market my own books is composed of 3 main components. The first component is the end game. And this is a very simple statement, which is, where are you trying to go? What are you trying to do? The second component is objectives. Objectives are essentially the things that you need to accomplish in order to reach the end game. They like the goalposts. And then the tactics are the specific actions that you need to take in order to accomplish the objectives. Now I'm going to go over all of these in depth, but I want to start out by saying that I think each of these 3 components are equally important. They may wax and wane in importance depending on where you are in your strategy, or where you are in your process and where you are in your career and your career growth, but they are equally important in the grand scheme of things, 100%. I think a lot of people tend to be more focused on tactics. If you go on Facebook and you type in, what's the best marketing that I could do for my book? Everything that you get is going to be tactics for the most part. People are going to say, you should be running Facebook ads. You should be running Amazon ads. You should have a newsletter. And all of these are specific tactics, not necessarily objectives. So I think a lot of people tend to get over-focused on tactics. I think sometimes objectives are the most important part, especially as you start to grow your author business. As you start adding people to actually help you do things, objectives become critical because you want everybody to know exactly what goals that they're working towards to achieve. And I honestly think that overall, the end game ends up being incredibly important in the long term, but also in the short term. You might forget about the end game in the middle for a while, but when you're building your strategy and you're building your plan, the end game is absolutely critical. And then it's also absolutely critical to sort of come back to the end game just to make sure that you are continually moving in the right direction. But regardless, in order to have a good marketing plan, I think you need to have a pretty solid handle on all 3 of these components. The other thing I want to mention here is that all 3 of these pieces change. They will most likely change. I think it's a rare person who knows exactly where they want to be and exactly how they're going to get there and sticks to that indefinitely. You might start out by working towards one end game and suddenly decide when you're halfway there that that's not actually where you want to go or what you want to do with your life. That's totally cool, totally good. You might create a set of objectives and then decide that, you know what, these objectives aren't as good as I thought they were, or they were actually they're not actually pushing me in the direction that I want to be going in. And so you scrap them all and you start over. Or you might create a whole system of tactics and you start doing them and you realize you hate all the things that you're doing. And so you scratch all of those tactics and you pick different ones to try. Nothing is set in stone. Everything is flexible. And the whole idea of this system is that you can adjust, adapt, and change it based on you and your needs and where you're trying to go with your life and with your career.